You thought I was worth saving, so you came and changed my life.
Hey sugars. Today is a little bit different for me. Somebody who mentored me and helped me to be able to have a testimony to give to help others passed. My pastor, Octavius Tukes. This video ain't for sympathy. If no one watches it, if they click on it and click right off, it's fine. But I wanted to tell you about a wonderful man. And I wanted to tell you my testimony so that you would see just how wonderful he is. I met Octavius Tukes about the middle of 2017. I went to visit his church with my son's girlfriend, and immediately I thought the man didn't like me because he was giving a talk, or he was teaching on addiction, and I was an addict. I didn't know his story and he didn't know mine, but I thought that because it's a little small town and everybody talks, that somebody had talked to him about me, and so when he seen me, he saw it as a chance to judge. So I sat through that sermon with an attitude, like, how dare this man try and put me on the spot? He don't even know me. And so then something led me, compelled me. I know now that it was the Holy Spirit, but compelled me to go back. And I went back. It was Bible study. And once again, this man was talking about the things you do when you're an addict and how you have to change, but you have to learn to love yourself, and you can't do it until you get rid of those negative influences. But I got mad, and I actually left the church, like, hot, huffy puffy, in a hurry. And his wife and one of the sisters came behind me to talk to me, but I didn't want to hear what they had to say, and I went ahead and left. And during this time, I was boosting, not pocketbook boosting. I was pushing carts of stuff out of the store. That's how I maintained my habit, because I didn't want people touching me. Most people affiliate or associate using drugs with being with men for money, and that just wasn't me, because I had been molested as a child, so I didn't really want no man touching me, like, yeah. But so I left the church that Wednesday night, and my ride to go boost just happened to be around the corner. Like, that's how the devil works, constantly setting you up. And so I left, and I was mad, and I hit a lick that night. I will never forget. I did 3 stores, probably about $3,000 worth of stuff. And I'm not saying that to brag. It's a part of my testimony. You're gonna see where I'm going if you're still here. But he didn't stop, and his wife didn't stop. Like, they still talk to me. They call me. He see me walking at night and give me a ride. Like, he know I'm going to do something that's drug associated, or just came from doing something that was drug associated. And he would say, God ready whenever you are. But he was never judgmental when we were alone. So that's why I ain't understand this thing in the church. But anyway, I went back. And I was getting ready to leave again, and his wife came to me, and she said, he's not talking about you. He's talking about himself. Come back and listen. It's funny. Our stories were so similar. Yeah, we were so different. I tried to change, but it was hard. Change is always hard, just a little uncomfortable. But you know, even though him and his wife knew what I was doing, they didn't give up on me. You know, they would still call me. They would allow me to come into their house like it was my own. Like, I never saw this man with a frown on his face. He smiled about everything. Like, he's smiling right now. I know it. But, his wife just kept working with me. And finally, I was able to begin to talk with him. And I started telling him my story. So much of it he already knew. He told me one time, if you start looking at yourself with your eyes and start looking at yourself with your heart, you will begin to love yourself. I've always known I was smart, but didn't really think it mattered. But he showed me that it mattered to me. And before I knew it, 2018 had rolled around. I got caught stealing out of a store. I got a grand theft charge. I went to jail. I got out of jail. We talked about it briefly, but he didn't treat me any different. Like, I still didn't know all of his story. But so then, he began to tell me bits and pieces. And he had gotten in so deep that he was trafficking. Like, yeah. And he began to, he just constantly told me, if you take the energy that you use for those things and apply it to something else, you'll be okay. So I just kept going to church and kept trying. I would go to church and then go home and get high. I would stay up all night getting high and go to church on Sunday. I loved the word, and I loved how he gave it to us because it was real. And he used to always say, know your Bible. Know your Bible. That's where your answers are. So I began to look to my Bible. So after I was caught, I was placed on probation. You would think that the fact that I was on probation and couldn't buy my own drugs anymore, I would stop. But by that time, I had a boyfriend who was also on drugs. And so he became my main supplier. And we lived in a house where you could smoke right in the house. So I didn't even have to leave home. So when I got out of jail, I was placed on probation. It's funny, I did 13 days in jail and I came home on probation for 18 months. Yeah, it's been almost 3 years and I'm still on that same, I'm still working on that same sentence. Because I was placed on probation September the 5th of 2018. December of 2018, I violated it. I went to jail for 17 days. But God had a plan. I didn't know that. I violated with a dirty urine, not a new crime. So God sent me back home. The devil was waiting on. Because back home was to this man and to this house where I ain't have to leave home to get drugs. I ain't have to be out with different men to get drugs. Just had to wait on my boyfriend to get out from work. And sometimes I didn't even have to wait. I would just call him and tell him I wanted something, and he would have the man to bring it to me. But then I got out of jail. I went to jail in December. I got out in December. I went back to jail in February 2018. No, I'm sorry. I got out in January. And after talking to pastor, it was like, this ain't what I want. But I got tested like maybe 3 days after I got out, and my urine was dirty again. So I had another violation. When I got violated the first time, they extended my probation from 18 months to 3 years. And you would think that that would have straightened me up. And that's why I know that sentences, prison sentences, jail sentences, probation, that doesn't straighten people up. They got to want to be straight from the inside, because something happened after that second violation. I was arrested February the 3rd, 2019. I didn't cry going to jail. I didn't cry while I was going in. I don't know exactly how I knew, but I knew I was going back home. The girls in jail were saying, oh, you going to prison this time. This your second violation? You was just here last month. Some of the girls hadn't even went home. And here it was, 24 days later, I was going home on a year of house arrest in 2019. But I was drug free. I knew that it was what I wanted. I knew that I wanted to be drug free. I didn't want to use drugs anymore. I wanted to talk to people about God, and I began to do so. So I had to do community service as a part of my sentence, and I loved it. I love talking to people and telling people, and especially those people that I had left behind. Like, if God could do it for me, he could do it for anybody. And I know people say that all the time, but that is nothing but the truth. If God can do it for me, he can do it for anybody. Because y'all, I was almost 100 pounds smaller than I am now. You can see all my bones and stuff. I mean, I wasn't ugly. In fact, some people preferred me then, because a lot of people don't like heavy people. But I wasn't healthy. I wasn't healthy mentally. I wasn't healthy physically. I was going in and out the hospital. I had to have blood transfusions because my hemoglobin was so low. But spiritually, in February of 2019, I had gotten it together because of my mentor, Pastor Octavius Toombs. Because if God could do it for him, he could do it for me. So I went from being this using crack addict who was boosting out of stores, violating probation, to somebody who was trying to walk the walk. But the devil wasn't through yet. Y'all, I was on house arrest, and I was living still in that same place, and something happened, and I ended up, somehow, my mom is a Jehovah's Witness, and one of her rules is you have to go to the Kingdom Hall if you live with her. And I wasn't going because I was going to Revelation Missionary Baptist Church, where everybody is somebody. And with my pastor Octavius Toombs and First Lady Pearl Toombs, like, they helped me so much. They just come get me. I would go to their house. I loved crafting. I've always loved crafting, but it was Mother Pearl who coaxed it out of me, who pulled it out of me, like, do this. Pastor taught me that you don't have to do illegal things to have an income. Look within yourself, and that's what I began to do. So that's where my crafting business came from, because first I started selling paparazzi jewelry, and it went okay, but I ain't have the passion for it that I have for this crafting thing. But so anyway, June comes around in 2019. I've been doing so good, but the devil had a plan. He just didn't know. He didn't know how strong my faith was, and he didn't know that part of his plan was a part of God's plan. I violated. Because we had tissue at the house, and I wasn't thinking, and I just got up and went to the store. I promise, the store is literally like a block and a half from my house. And I went and got the tissue, and I came back. My correctional officer didn't see me. Someone else saw me. Another officer saw me. And I was so instilled in God that happened on a Saturday. And I didn't know that person had seen me. So I had to go report every Tuesday. And when I went in on Tuesday, my officer said, so you went somewhere Saturday? And I was like, oh yeah, we was out of tissue. And so I went to the store, I got some tissues and some personal things. And he was like, I gotta violate you. What? I've been doing my community service hours. I've been going to church. I've been studying. Violate me? Like, I know you got to be kidding. And he was like, no, I have to violate you by your own admission. Another officer saw you. And I was like, right. Like, because he wasn't sending me to jail right then. So he said, yeah, I'm going to put it in the paperwork. And as I was walking out, and I said, are you violating me? I looked back at my officer, and I said, Officer Roundtree, are you violating me for real? And he said, I have to. And he said it like, it was nonchalant, like he didn't care. And I walked down, and I sat down in that lobby, and the tears started coming. Like, why? I've been trying to do so well. I've been doing so well. I wasn't trying anymore. I was doing. But y'all know what I noticed at that point? Usually when I get to my low places, I have a yearning to go back. Like, I've been clean before, but I'll go back to doing what I was doing. Like, as soon as I hit a low spot, like, boom, okay, I know this will make me feel better. Like, you know, they call it self-medicating, but it ain't doing nothing for you. And you just end up being worse than you were the last time. I didn't have that urge. I sat there for a little while, and then I had to ask permission for everywhere I went. So I said, Officer Roundtree, would you be so kind as to allow me to go to my pastor's house for a little while, because they stayed not far. So my pastor's wife came and got me, and I went to his house. Still never had that urge to do drugs. Y'all, I'm still a recovering addict. I will always be a recovering addict, but I will never be a user again. I know this, because even right now, as I sit here and talk to you all and tell you my story and tell you that my mentor is gone, I will never be able to talk to him again. I don't have that urge. I don't have the urge to go backwards. I have the urge to push forward faster. My pastor told me at some point you'll be ready to give your testimony. I didn't think so. But here's my testimony. February the 3rd, 2021, I will have been clean for 2 years. I will still be making it. I know how to voice when it ain't comfortable. And so that's where Faith Letters to Inmates comes in, because while I was in jail that last time, like, everybody was telling me, oh, you ain't going home. Everybody knew I was going to prison. Let me tell y'all how great my pastor is. So I had to go to court. So he said he was coming. I looked back, and my town is a small town, and my church is very small. But almost every member was sitting in that audience when I walked out there for my court hearing. And almost every one of them had something to say. The judge sent me home again. As I was in there in the inmates, they were not encouraging me. But I could talk to my pastor on the phone. I got visits from him. And even though I was only there for 26 days, I got letters. And when I got those letters, all the other inmates wanted to know what he said, what they said. When I had my visits, you visit in the pod where you are, but on the television, and they would come by and they would be speaking to him, and he spoke to them, and he talked to all of them, and he had an encouraging word. And I was talking to him on the phone one day, and I said, Pastor, when I get out of here, I'm going to start a ministry, a letter writing ministry. Pastor does not doubt that you could do anything, because he said, okay. Like, he didn't say how you gonna do it, what you gonna do it. He said, let me know if you need help. And In the past, he had always told me, you're going to find your purpose. And when you find your purpose, you're going to walk in it. So as soon as I got home, I came home in July, and as soon as I got home, I started writing letters. I started writing the girls that I had left behind. I started writing the prisons. I mean, like random names. Like I would say a prayer, and then I would like an initial or initials would come to my name, and I was just putting in last name M, first name A, and I would write whatever name that just, whatever names were given to me, because it would give you like 6 or 7 names. You could choose how many, and I chose 10, and I would just go through that list, and I would write those people. I didn't look to see what they had done. I didn't look to see how long they had. I just made sure they were still incarcerated and got the address. I have some of those inmates writing me back, and I often think about how Saul became Paul, and he continuously wrote letters. I'm sad that my mentor is gone. I'm very, very sad. But he wouldn't want me to cry, because he told me, don't let man see you cry. And I don't feel like I had long enough with him. I feel like I need enough, just a little more time. But at the same time, he told me he was going to give me everything I needed to survive. And I was like, okay, and he gave me a Bible. I still have that Bible. I won't go backwards. I will continue to share my story. I'll share it wherever I go with anyone who's willing to listen, because I don't know who needs to hear. And I'll wear a smile on my face. The tears I shed are for so many who didn't get to meet him. It was absolutely awesome. Love radiated from him. And so, that is why I always say, be a blessing and stay blessed. It's not for you to do things just to get something back. It's the feeling that you have when you are doing something out of genuine love. It's the feeling that you have when you can walk with your head held high, because you know your insides. So I will continue to go on. And when I get to heaven, I know that he'll be there to greet me with one of his big smiles and his hugs. Because if you got the Octavius too, I know I am somebody. I won't be doing a video for Vlogmas today, y'all. I will try and come back tomorrow, because I know that he would want me to continue with a good thing. Y'all, if you love somebody, tell them. If you're thankful for anything that they've ever done, tell them. I understand now why so many people said 2020 has been a hard year. Until the next time, sugars, be a blessing and stay blessed.
Satan, you can go bring forth what? Iniquity and pride.